Extra Everyday Fitness. Hopefully you're enjoying the videos. If you are, please subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the videos that we're putting out. And please drop a like and a comment on the videos if you find them helpful, and let us know what you want to see more of. Now, one of the reasons that people struggle to get to their end result, the end goal, is because when weight loss starts to slow down or stop, they get very frustrated. They don't understand why, they don't understand how to then move past that. And I'm going to go through exactly why that happens and how to move forward. So, when you've been dieting for a while, when you've been in a fat loss phase or weight loss phase for a while, certain things happen that effectively makes it harder for you to remain in a calorie deficit or remain in that same sized calorie deficit, which means that rate of loss slows down or stops altogether. Those things that occur are called metabolic adaptations. So these things will occur over time as you go through your fat loss phase. Okay, so I'm going to go through what things we might see so we can identify them, we can understand what's happening, and then I'm going to go through how we can try and cope with them or try and make them less of an issue so we can continue moving forward at the same pace. So one of the first things that you're going to probably notice is a change in hunger levels. So your hunger hormones, the levels of them will change over time. So stuff like ghrelin, leptin, which are two of the big ones, the levels of them will change over time, and you'll start to notice things like hunger, appetite becoming more apparent. You'll be noticing things like you're not feeling as full after meals, and that just happens over time because your body is essentially trying to get more food into you. Your body wants you to eat more. Your body doesn't necessarily want to be in the size deficit, so it wants you to eat more food, take more calories in. So changing these sort of hunger hormones, changing the levels of them, it's basically trying to increase that. Something else that will happen over time through a weight loss or a fat loss phase is that your body weight will drop over time. Okay, now this isn't necessarily an issue because that's what you're after, but what happens when that happens is that for the same or similar period or amount of exercise that you're doing, you're actually going to typically burn less calories the less you weigh. So for example, if you take someone who's 90 kilograms and then you take someone else who's 65 and you get them doing the exact same piece of exercise for the exact same amount of time, typically the person who weighs more will burn more calories. So if you've lost say 9 to 10 kilograms and you're now 20 pounds roughly lighter, if you're doing the same amount of exercise, you're going to be burning less calories. So your energy expenditure is going to be lower than what it previously was, which means the calorie deficit, if nothing else has changed, is going to be slightly smaller, which might be a reason as to why your rate of loss is slowing. Next, we have changes in energy dropping, and changes in NEAT. So if you're unsure what NEAT means, if you've not seen it in a previous video, NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's basically stuff that isn't like planned activity. So for example, if you're standing through the day, if you're fidgeting, if you're moving from one place to the other, stuff that isn't really planned, you might find that stuff like that starts to actually drop. Okay, so what you might notice or see with people who've been dieting for a while, you might find that you start sitting more or you start leaning more, and it's basically effectively your way trying to conserve as much energy as possible. Okay, now doing stuff like that, sitting, leaning rather than standing, doesn't sound like it's going to make much of a difference with calories, and it probably won't in that one instance, but built up over time in combination with other things, that will make a difference to the size of the total deficit that you're in. And then lastly, which is almost a combination of all these things, is diet fatigue. Okay, and diet fatigue is simply, from a physical and mental standpoint, fatigue, stress building up over time of being in a deficit, which is going to make things like adhering to the program, going to make things like sticking within a calorie deficit harder. All these things are effectively only going to potentially increase the chances of you reducing the size of the deficit you're in or coming out of it altogether, which in other terms means the rate of loss slowing down or stopping altogether. Okay, so now I've identified some of the metabolic adaptations, some of the changes that occur, some of the things that might find our weight loss stalling or slowing down. We're going to go through how we can try and work with them how we can try and make them not as much of an issue, how we can try and make sure that our deficit doesn't actually decrease and we can continue with this rate of loss that we're after. So if hunger hormones are changing like we've spoken about, and basically now effectively hunger is becoming worse or more, appetite is becoming more, we're not feeling as satisfied as full after meals, then there's a few things we can do with our intake. So one, we need to make sure our protein intake is high enough, is adequate. Hopefully we should have been doing this from the start, but protein is the most filling macronutrient, so having enough within our diet is going to help with hunger management. Okay, you could even increase this slightly if hunger is becoming a bit more of an issue. And then secondly, making sure we're picking high volume foods and we're prioritising high volume foods over low volume foods. So high volume foods are effectively foods that have a lot of volume, you know, there's a lot of it, but for for less calories. Okay, that way again it's just a tactic to manage hunger and to help keep us feeling fuller for longer. Secondly, reduce body weight. So if we know that our body weight has dropped over time for the same amount of exercise, if our exercise hasn't changed, we're going to be likely burning less calories. So how can we change that? First of all, we can just increase expenditure, so we can do more. Or secondly, we can increase the weight that we are carrying. Okay, so for example, if you were doing 20 minutes of low intensity steady state cardio, but you're now 20 pounds lighter, so you're effectively burning less calories during that time. If you were just to add that weight back, so grab a backpack, add 20 pounds, you're now going to be going back to burning the same amount of calories as you were previously. Okay, so over time, if calorie expenditure has dropped because the body weight, the weight that we're carrying has dropped, if you increase that weight back up, that expenditure is going to increase with it. Thirdly, low energy and reduced NEAT. Okay, what can we do about that? Now, to be completely honest, this is just something that you're going to have to be aware of. So we need to be mindful that our body might be trying to conserve energy without us really being aware of it. So we need to be mindful that we might be sitting down more, leaning more. And then we just need to have the mental resilience, the discipline, to almost fight against that. Okay, so if we know we want to be sitting more, we want to be leaning more, we have to have the discipline to realise that, okay, that's going to be a slight issue in terms of energy expenditure. Can we perhaps be a bit more, have a bit more mental resilience and just not do that? And then lastly, we have diet fatigue, which is a combination of these things. Okay, now diet fatigue is more towards the very, very end of sort of everything here, so more like towards the extreme end. So if you're noticing all these things, you might then start noticing stuff like sleep taking a bit of a hit, sort of performance taking a bit of a hit. If we notice that diet fatigue has accumulated quite a lot, then rather than driving on, trying to drive into a bigger deficit or trying to just push on harder, what actually might be an option is to take something like a diet break. So diet break, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail right now because that can be another video, but a diet break is simply what it says, is a break from the diet. So you might want to take a week or two out where you're not dieting any longer. Yes, weight loss is going to stall for this period, most likely, but what it's going to do is it's going to let almost this sort of reset and then put you in a better position to then go again. So once you've had your diet break, you might go back into another deficit and you might see that weight loss that was previously slowing down or stalling, now back to where you want it. So there's a few reasons as to why weight loss might be stalling or stopping, and then there's ways of how we can perhaps get about that, how we can perhaps make sure that our rate of loss is continuing at the same pace, or if it has completely stopped and we're really struggling, how to take a step to the side to regather and then go again. If that's helped, hopefully you found that interesting, of some use. If you have, please drop a like, please let us know in the comments, and like I said at the beginning, please subscribe.